Hello everybody, this is Kirk Nelson with Brilliant Twisted Skulls. In this installment of Chainmaille Tips, Tricks, and Ring Flips, we'll be discussing full Persian 6-in-1 and how I start it and weave it. Check the description below for links, supplies, tools used for this video. The product we're using today is from the Ring Lord. These are rings from the Ring Lord. The ring sizes are 16 SWG, standard wire gauge, 5/16 with an AR of about 5.2. All right, well, let's get started. So, to begin with, what we'll do is we'll take one open jump ring and place 4 closed jump rings, and close that up. Then we'll grab another open jump ring, excuse me, and add that. So then what we have is 4 jump rings linked with 2. So basically what you have really is a 2-and-2 section of chain. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a single jump ring and we'll connect those two, the pair, not any of the 4, but the pair here. We're going to connect that to another a ring that I call a store ring. And this is basically just the ring you store your samples or your starters on. And so what we're doing, and what I'm going to show you, is basically how you start this, and then you just keep a starter for future weaving. Just makes you a little bit more efficient. The reason I weave it this way is this kind of gives you a little bit of a handle, because one of the problems with starting full Persian is it gets a little slippery, and you're going to have to put a little bit of tension on it to start it this way. But honestly, there's other methods for doing this, but this is kind of my favorite way, and this is the way I do it every single time, and it works out pretty well. And so what you'll see here, so I'm going to put this back. What you'll see is right now you've got your store ring, an additional jump ring to connect the store ring to the weave, and then you've got these 2 jump rings connecting to 4 closed jump rings. So look just like this. You've got single ring with a single ring, a pair, and then basically 2 pairs. Okay? So then what I do is I take this and get a good handle on the extra rings, the store ring and that spare ring that's connecting the store ring. And then what we do is we want to take the 2 outer rings. So we'll hang that down. And so you've got this ring on the outside and this ring on the outside. What we want to do is we want to flip those guys back. Okay? And we want to flip this guy back. And then push a little bit of tension so that you can see that they're parallel, sandwiching this spare ring here, or this connector ring. So you can see those 2 guys are parallel. And this guy is right where we want it, but this guy here needs to come back over onto this side. And so we lost it a little bit, and that's okay, this happens. But it's really easy once you get it back together, which is pretty easy. So now you can just kind of hold those, and you're kind of using this ring here to put a little bit of pressure on it. It doesn't take a whole lot once you get in this position, but the key is these 2 rings that you flip back are still parallel, and then these other 2 rings that were in the middle are now on the outside, and that's really important. And then what you have is these other 2 rings here that were the links to the 4 rings are spread apart like this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take another open jump ring. We're going to go ahead and capture this guy. We're going to get him. We're going to hook him. And then we're going to go under both of these two inner rings. You can see that, so we're catching those. And then we want to capture the top of this ring. So now they look parallel. Those two outer rings are now inside of this link. Okay, I'm going to close that up. And then from the side, so you can see it, from the side, let's get that nice and tight. Just note that the rings that I'm using are an AR 5.2. Again, these are 16 SWG 5/16. AR around 5.2. Ideal AR for full Persian 6-in-1 is right around 5.5, and you can weave this down to about 5. 5.2 is going to be a little structural, but it's still going to have some movement to it. So it's not really in the ideal range, but it's going to be really good to be able for you guys to be able to see kind of how it goes together. Oh, and one thing I always like to do too, and I should have done this before I close this ring. I'll show you here. Go ahead and toss on 2 of these closed jump rings, and this is how I speed weave these. Close that up, and they can just flop around and do whatever they want to do. They're not going to hurt nothing. But then we want to take and just let those sit there. So now we want to pair this ring. So there's got to be 2 of them. We want to just go ahead and go right back in where that guy is, splitting these two rings here. So if you look at it this way, going through the eye created by this ring and this ring, this ring and this ring. There's an eye created by those, and we're going to go right back in so these guys, so that the 2 rings that we just wove are parallel to each other, right next to each other. And then we want to catch these 2 guys that we just put on the two loose rings. So if you look at it from the side again, these rings that we captured with that first ring is also being captured by the ring that we just wove. Going through the eye. Oh, let's get this up here closer. Going through the eye. See if I can get it good. So you can see that. Going through the eye here, it's created by this ring and this ring. Okay? So it's hooking onto these 2 rings and then capturing these 2 rings. See how that goes? Okay. And then now we've got these 2 loose guys here. What we need to do is get these over into the same position that these were before. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our plier and we're just going to force that over so that it's on the outside of these rings. And what you're going to do is you're making an arrow. See how these are arrows right here? They're both arrows facing towards here, towards these hands. That arrow, they're pointing this way. Okay? So if you can see that. So what we're going to do again is we're going to take another open jump ring, and let's see if we can open this up so you can see here. Okay, so we're going to be splitting these 2 rings again, and then I'm going to lift this one up so you can see the eye. So you can see that eye that's being created, and see that little space there. So we're going to go between these 2 rings, and then we're going to go through the eye created by this ring and this ring. And then the same on the other side. So as we go through there, we're going to go through that ring. And then as we turn it over, you'll see that the eye right here created by this ring and this ring, we're going to come up through that between these 2 rings still. And then we're going to come up and capture the 2 outer rings on top. Just like that. Let's see, just like that. And there we go. So if you look again, looking from the side, see how we came through the eye created by this ring and this ring and this ring and this ring. We came through the eye and then we split these two rings. And so we'll come up and we'll finish this off. Go ahead and get that nice and tight. And now we're going to pair that one. So again, you're going to have the exact same situation here where you've got a pair of rings. And so if you look at this, you'll notice that you've got a pair of rings, a pair of rings, a pair of rings, a pair of rings, a pair of rings. It's going to be, you know, on each side, you're going to notice that there's a pair, and they're going to just be a mirror image of the, so this ring mirrors this one, this ring mirrors this one, this ring mirrors this one, same side on this side, this ring mirrors this one, and this one mirrors this, and creating those V's, those arrows. And you can see that a little bit better here. See how that's creating these arrows. All right, little sound effects there for you. Okay, let's close this up. And normally, again, I would actually throw on the extra. Oh, actually, why don't we just do that so you guys can see it, be consistent here. So I'm just going to open those back up. We're going to go ahead and throw on the two open or the two closed jump rings here, and then close that up. And then we're going to go ahead and get this one on there too, just so you guys can see. This is how I normally speed weave this, and that makes it kind of pretty quick, pretty easy. And then again, of course, when you go to weave the next section, and looks like I don't have another. Looks like I didn't put enough rings on the table to do another one. But what I'll show you is then if you want to finish this off, like let's say this is the end, and you want to turn this into a keychain or something or whatever you want, a bracelet or a necklace. You can just finish this off with a single ring. It could be a bigger ring, it could be a smaller ring, but I'll just show you what we're going to do again. So we'll bring the two loose rings to the outside again. So it's on the outside of these rings, creating that V or arrow. Okay, see if you can see that. And then we can just toss in just really a finish ring. We just call this the end ring, and it could be really anything. It could be your you could be putting a clasp on here, or it could just be a key ring or whatever. Whatever you want to finish that off with, and then that's done. So that would be a finished piece right there. So there you have. Oh, and if you want, I guess I should say, and then if you want to just continue that, you just keep continuing that the same way we did the rest of these. So instead of putting this ring on, you put another pair of the jump rings that you're weaving this with, and there's a nice solid section of full Persian 6-in-1 with stainless steel. Again, 16 SWG 5/16 rings, but you can use any size ring that has an AR between, I would say 5.2 is still pretty decent. That's a little tough. You can see that it doesn't have a whole lot of bend to it. So if you're making a necklace, it would probably be okay, but a bracelet might be a little bit too tight. If you get up to about a 5.4 to about a 5.6 AR, you'll be able to make a pretty nice bracelet. Of course, depending on what size rings you're using. If you're using 14 gauge or 8 gauge, that's going to be a pretty thick weave, so it's not going to have as much flexibility to maybe go around your wrist or something, but that would be pretty heavy anyway. But if you're doing something in like a 20 AWG or even like a 18 SWG, that'd still give you a pretty nice, even this would in a 20 AWG at a 5.2, you can make a pretty nice bracelet. but you get up to the 5.5, 5.4, it's going to be really nice and have some nice movement to it and flexibility. So just something to think about when you're going on to weave this. And then, of course, as you get down into the 5, and even maybe just a little bit below 5, you get into really structural full Persian 6-in-1, and you can actually go to our Etsy page, and on our Etsy page you will find a few structural full Persian 6-in-1 designs that we've done, and I give you complete instructions on how to make those designs. And now that you know how to make full Persian 6-in-1, you can successfully make a number of my designs that utilize this weave. Anyway, go check out our Etsy page at Brilliant Skulls on Etsy. And you can also find us at Brilliant Twisted Skulls on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see more of our videos. We'd be happy to get any feedback, so please leave a comment down below. Tell us how we're doing, if there's anything that you'd like to see, or just curious or have some questions. Feel free to leave a comment down below with those, and we'd love to hear from you. Anyway, thanks again for watching.